and the indigo chakras. Today's lesson is going to focus on the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the third eye. It is the brow chakra. It is associated with the color indigo in the spectrum. And you can see in this painting here, this point of intersection where we have the indigo chakra, and we also have the violet chakra, the crown chakra, where energy enters from higher dimensions and higher vibrations. And this is the point right down there, here we go in red, that point right down there, where those two chakras intersect is a very special place. Now the indigo chakra has been called the third eye. I also call it sometimes the eye of time, because it is the apparatus with which one sights down the timeline that one is traveling upon. It is the eye of mind because this is what one uses to focus on a thought. And I also call it the inner movie screen. When you are asked to visualize something, you are using this tiny little gland in order to do it. So first, this is energetic anatomy, as I have painted it over here, but this is also physical anatomy. Right over there at the exact center of the brain is where the physical gland is located. And I just want to show you over here, you can see that little structure right in there is the shape of the pineal gland. So I'm just going to draw that over here. You can see that there's the basic kind of pine cone-like shape, and then it has these two nerves that go off of it like that. All right? The interesting thing about the pineal gland is that it contains some of the very same structure as the physical eye, but it does not have a lens. So the physical eye is shaped pretty much like this. Here's the lens, and in here is all of the vitreous solution, and then back here, that's where you've got your lovely retina. Well, the pineal gland is not so very different. Now I'm going to draw this as a simplification so that we can imagine with our mind's eye that there's a little movie screen inside of your pineal gland. And that on here, this is where you might imagine something and project it using your ability to envision something. So literally we're talking about inner vision and insight. And this has to do with clairvoyance, which literally means clear seeing, and also clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So we're going to get into this a little bit now also. Physically, inside of the pineal gland, there are tiny microcrystalline structures. These have been called brain sand and also microcrystals. Let's just say that there are tiny little crystals that exist within the pineal gland, and this is part of science and anatomy. And it is also true that crystals vibrate. So what you could think of this apparatus inside of your head as the crystals that are part of the transceiver system of your non-physical anatomy, and apparently your physical anatomy also. So just like in old radio sets, there would be a little piece of crystal that would be vibrating, and it would allow the overall apparatus to tune in on certain frequencies. And even in today's radios, which are mainly digital and do not involve an actual vibrating crystal, we still talk about the frequency, like, 100.1 is the frequency that you are listening to when you listen to that particular radio station. Well, in exactly the same way, your pineal gland can tune into various different radio stations. And one of the challenges is that right now, humans are being bombarded with broadcasts from many radio stations that are not helpful information. That right now, to the unprotected human, this is like a zone. And when I say unprotected, it means that this third eye has not been trained and cultivated, and there's not a protecting field around it. That you could imagine almost that there is, that it's a partial field. Let's look at it like this. And that in these gaps in between here, that it is possible for very confusing or negative signals to enter. So basically what we're talking about is the type of information that would be distressing, and by flashing those images onto the mental movie screen would create some of these lower level emotional vibrations that certain extra-dimensional creatures feed upon. So I have gone into this in other lessons. There's the idea that we are living in a, hold on one second. I shall use the fish analogy, the idea that we are living underneath the surface of water as lovely fish down here, and unbeknownst to us, that there are beings up above the surface of the water, and that these beings certainly can look down and see us and everything that's going on down here. However, when the fish look up, all that they see is the shiny surface of the water, and many are not aware that there's even anything going on up here at this level. Extra dimensional to the water, there are many different types of creatures. So there are these lower level creatures that have to eat lower level vibrations because they cannot consume the higher level vibrations, which are based entirely upon love. So basically, if you have not lived well, if you have not grown your love apparatus for eating love, your mouth to eat love, then all you can do is eat the lower vibration emotions. And these are the lower emotions that are associated with the orange chakra. The orange chakra, more mammalian emotions, also heavier things like sadness and sorrow and grief, and also lust. So let me move back to the other page. As an example, if a being from another dimension wanted to beam some thoughts into your pineal gland that you would pick up these broadcasts, basically it would be, imagine a flash on your inner mental movie screen of, a scary image like someone who's going to kill someone or someone who's going to die or something bad like a car crash. That image then goes out to your consciousness and creates an emotional reaction in the body, one of fear or stress or anxiety, which is then exuded. And in that sense, these higher vibrational creatures who are serving themselves, who have a motivation for sending in these negative broadcasts that bring up fear. So now we're going to talk about the Merkaba. Because the Merkaba is the beautiful protective energy shield that one is cultivating and practicing in order to block out those harmful broadcasts. When they try to get in, they are just going to be blocked right out. However, it does not block out the beautiful broadcasts of love that are able to get through, and now it becomes easier to focus on those beautiful broadcasts of love because one is no longer being distracted by the fear images being broadcast on the inner movie screen, or even if we don't think of it as images, if we think of it as sounds going into, that one would hear either words or phrases that are meant to engender doubt, fear, sadness, remind you of bad things from the past. All of these are suspect broadcasts. When you notice those things are going on, you have to understand those are broadcasts that are coming in from channels that you do not want. Now here are two different examples of the Merkaba. Merkaba basically being the overlapping union of two equilateral triangles. I have gone over this on a previous broadcast. It is all about the flower of life, how the flower of life becomes the Merkaba, and also how the Merkaba becomes an octagon. Simply by adding in these additional lines, we then begin to see how this is a pyramid. Here's the first face of the pyramid, right? Here is the second face of the pyramid, the third, and then, of course, on the back would be the fourth face of the pyramid. What we see over here is a painting that I did not do, but it shows pretty well these two beautiful equilateral, they are tetrahedrons, four-sided figures, and the way that they intersect. However, the movement of the Merkaba has everything to do with this, changing colors here, this shape, twisting and morphing into this octahedron. So here's another beautiful octahedron right down here. And I'm realizing that this is a very large topic. I'm going to get more into the idea of multidimensionality and how adding a multidimensional view of the Merkaba, changing from a four-sided pyramidal tetrahedron into two octahedral pyramids stuck together, that is its whole own broadcast, which I will do later. But let's just say that this Merkaba shape, and you can see this right over here also, it's a six-pointed, associated with the sixth chakra, or the brow chakra, and also with Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is the consciousness that is achieved when one builds this protective, I don't want to say barrier, protective field around one's pineal gland, and then can begin to see with higher consciousness, to see through time, to receive only these broadcasts of love that are going into the brain, and to see forward clearly on the timelines that one wishes to traverse. The way that one begins to build this Merkaba energy field around your pineal gland is quite simply to begin to envision it. Because remember, this is your inner movie screen. So the first thing that you need to do is begin to learn to visualize this shape. And the way that I suggest doing that is by literally drawing it. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. Actually get a ruler and the appropriate items that you need, and physically draw it with your body. Because this is one way of embodying it. You're not just looking at it on a computer screen over here. You need to draw it out and learn it in such a way that then when I ask you to envision it inside, you can do so, and you begin to see it like this and see it like this. Now, of course, that is the two-dimensional version of something that is actually three-dimensional, and not only that, but it is moving or vibrating and oscillating in time from one of these four-sided tetrahedral pyramid into one of these, which is an octahedron made out of two four-sided pyramids. Okay. Again, a very, very large topic, but what I wanted to talk about when I call this a love story, I'm talking about the intersection right over here between these two chakras, and basically the way that the Indigo chakra acts as a cradle and a protector for the very, very fine and sensitive Violet chakra right in there, which is the antenna that one uses to connect to God. And when I'm talking about these love broadcasts that come into one's pineal gland, I'm talking about channel God on the large radio in the sky, no longer being impinged upon by channel demon, or, channel evil, or channel distraction, whatever you want to call that. Now it becomes possible to focus entirely on 100.1 channel God. And this love story between the two chakras down here is all about this Violet chakra acting as, when I say a cradle, as a like a gyro-stabilized nest for this beautiful antenna, which sometimes points over here, and then it might sometimes point in this direction, or I'm trying to say that it follows the broadcast as the broadcast moves and changes, let's say, through the multi-dimensions of the universe. So I'm going to actually have a part 2 because there's so much in this lesson. Please tune in for more lessons for full spectrum humans, and we will do part 2 of the love story between the Violet and Indigo chakras.